OPEC is making moves now to get ready to include Iranian oil if the U.S. is successful with the Iran nuclear deal. Would the president then welcome Iranian oil coming into the U.S. to lower gas prices?
Well, again, we're not quite at the point of a final deal on the nuclear deal, so we will talk about that if we get to that point. Let's see, go ahead.
It's going to take a hell of a lot of work to make up for all the damage he's done internationally and nationally. Imagine what he can do in another year. Imagine what can happen in Ukraine. Judge Jackson, congratulations, and the podium is yours. Let me pull this out for you. Where is it? There you go. You got it? But okay. See, presidents can't do much. Thank you.
Thank you. Report in the New York Times that you guys kept asking China to help you stop Russia from invading Ukraine, and they didn't. So what have you guys done throughout this slow-moving Russia crisis that has worked?
In what capacity?
Well, the president talked to Putin, he talked to the G7, he threatened sanctions, he put sanctions in place. Now he says the sanctions are going to take 30 days, or about a month. Do you guys think the people in Ukraine have about a month?
Well, Peter, let me just take a step back and explain to everyone how diplomacy works and how our approach from the United States has worked. What the president has done is he has built a global coalition. It is our choice and our responsibility and the role of the president in the United States to rally opposition and make sure they feel significant pain from that choice. That's exactly what we have done.
And I understand that you're saying that these sanctions will have an impact on Russia, but what good does that do these people in Ukraine who are seeing the news and these U.S. intel assessments that Kiev is going to fall any day?
Well, Peter, first of all, we are the largest provider of humanitarian assistance, of security assistance in the world. And so the president is doing nearly everything in his power to lead the world and stand up against the actions of President Putin. What he will not do is send U.S. troops to fight in Ukraine.
Because I think I asked the wrong question. I should have, instead of asking you what is exempted, because I've seen the list of exemptions, and it's frankly huge. Can you give us an example of the kinds of talks that now are no longer going to take place?
You're asking me to...
Well, I mean, are we talking about cultural exchanges or what? I mean, because if
Matt,
you look at the list of stuff that's exempted, you start with the JCPOA, you go to climate, you go to COVID, you go to anything having to do with consular affairs.
What you will see...
go to anything that the seventh floor thinks is significant enough, which could be anything. So I'm just wondering, what is it?
You will see
the Arctic Council in there.
You will see
every single.
You will see a focus on our core national security interests.
Yeah, but every international organization, contact with the Russians at every international organization is carved out. It's exempted from this.
Matt, I'm not sure this.
I'm going from the ICAO to the Arctic Council to the OSCE.
We are going to pursue.
Well, I know. So what has been banned or halted because of this directive?
We are going to pursue what is in our national security interest, to those core national security interests. I will leave it to your well-informed imagination what might not meet that criteria.
I'm just wondering, can you point to something specific that is now no longer able to be talked about with Russians bilaterally because of this? Because it just seems like almost everything that one can imagine, except for, I don't know, licensing for artwork to come to be loaned to a museum,
the Russian
is included.
This decision to coordinate with allies meant to show unity, meant to show that Putin is a pariah, or do you think it will actually have an impact on Putin in practice, given the uncertainty about the extent and location of his wealth?
Sure, I understand what you're asking. I'm just not going to get into specifics about his financial assets from here.
Without getting into details, can you even say if this will or will not impact him, other than showing that he's, an outlier?
Again, I'm not going to get into his personal financial assets. That's typically not something we would do.
The State Department just said about the U.S. and Russia that there are still some areas in which the fulfillment of our national security priorities and imperatives require us to engage and coexist. How is it that we are still engaging and coexisting with the Russians?
Well, Peter, I would say diplomacy around the world requires us to engage with countries even where we have strong disagreements, strong opposition, strong condemnation. It is our responsibility, and diplomacy means engaging even with countries where you have strong disagreement and strong opposition.
And just so that we can understand then the approach, that means that you guys will sit here and sanction Vladimir Putin and then send diplomats to go sit on the same side of the table with the Russians to hash out the Iran deal. Is that what's happening?
That's right, Peter, but I don't know why you sound so skeptical. What our job here in the United States and from any government is to take steps that are in the interest of the American people and the United States of America. But it is not in our interest to be in a war with Russia. And so, no, we are not sending U.S. troops to Ukraine.
But by stating up front that this is not an option, didn't President Biden take away what could have been a threat to deter Putin from invading and to further push into Ukraine?
I think the president believes he has a responsibility to be very direct with the American people about what his intentions are and what his intentions are not. And that is his first priority as president.
And finally, what was the White House's reaction to President Zelensky's today in a video address saying that Ukraine has, quote, been left alone to defend itself against Russia?
So that is hardly standing on the sidelines. We are providing, again, the largest provider of security, economic, humanitarian assistance of any country in the world, and we will continue to support President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people.
So the White House doesn't think he's been left alone?
I think I'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
Share any details about the process
Sure.
now that it's over?
Finally, we're free.
Like, you know, how long the interview or interviews were, what they talked about, what led the president to choose Judge Jackson over the other candidates?
Sure. Well, I will share with you the details that we're comfortable sharing at this point in time. And
when did President Biden make the final decision to sanction President Putin?
it was made, it's been on the table for some time, but through coordination and discussion with our European partners over the last day or so.
So he decided in the last 24 hours that he was going to do that?
Again, it's been on the table for some time. His priority and his focus has been on taking steps in coordination.
And why are you guys waiting to apply maximum pressure on Russia with, sanctions on everything? It doesn't seem, are you guys waiting for Kiev to fall or
Sanctions on everything? How do you mean?
like sanctions on all Russian transactions and oil and gas? Or like, do you think that Americans are not willing to take a hit at the gas pump?
So what should be clear here is that there are already huge impacts. There is already an enormous squeeze on the Russian financial system and economy. What the president is also focused on as a principle is taking steps and making sure we are minimizing the impact on the American people